The opening day of practice for the Austrian Grand Prix weekend has concluded, and if you look at the raw classification, it's a story of pure dominance from Mercedes and Kimi Antonelli. On the face of it, the Ferrari garage looks lost, a team struggling for balance, devoid of pace, and chasing shadows while the Silver Arrows look serenely quick. But I am here to tell you that the timesheets are lying. What we witnessed today wasn't a performance struggle, it was a cold, calculated, and highly sophisticated display of tactical sandbagging. Ferrari is playing a game that goes far beyond the lap times you see on the screen, and through the lens of telemetry, I'm going to prove to you exactly why they are currently the biggest threat to the status quo for the remainder of this weekend. To understand why Ferrari is acting this way, we first have to look at the shifting philosophy within the Maranello camp since the Barcelona round. Traditionally, a Formula One team wants to top every session to gain confidence and data validation. But Ferrari has pioneered a new, secretive trend. They are treating Friday not as a search for raw pace, but as a laboratory for hidden variables. In FP1 and FP2, the goal isn't to be the fastest. The goal is to gather data without showing your hand. You might have noticed that despite the media hype, Ferrari's run plans were completely unconventional. The paddock was abuzz with the rumor that the new 8001 engine would only arrive for Saturday's FP3, but the telemetry data suggests otherwise. The way the car behaved, the deployment of the ERS, and the specific energy recovery modes point to one conclusion. The 8001 was in the back of that car during FP1, but it was being run with a massive safety buffer, effectively detuning the unit to hide its true power ceiling from their rivals. When you look at the telemetry overlay between Lewis Hamilton and the rest of the pack, the evidence becomes damning. Look at the straight-line speed delta. Even with a heavily constrained engine map, Hamilton is losing time in a very specific, linear fashion. This is not a car that lacks power. This is a car that is being electronically restricted. By capping the revs and limiting the fuel flow mapping, Ferrari is ensuring that the GPS traces Mercedes is collecting don't show the true top-end potential of the new unit. They are effectively gaslighting their competitors. They want Mercedes and Red Bull to believe that the 8001 upgrade is a failure, or at best, a minor gain, so that when they finally unleash the full map on Saturday, the jump in performance will be so drastic that the opposition has no time to adjust their own race simulations. Beyond the engine, we have to talk about the experimental hardware, specifically the Flicktail module, FTM. Ferrari spent the bulk of FP2 running back-to-back tests with and without this module on their cars. Now, this isn't just about car development for Austria. The FTM is currently being evaluated for its legality, and it has already been confirmed that it will be outlawed from the 2027 season onwards. However, Ferrari is aggressively testing it now for two specific reasons. First, they need to optimize their aero balance for high-speed tracks like Spa and Silverstone, where the module will have to be removed. By running it today in a compromised setup, they are gathering worst-case scenario data that no other team has access to. They are essentially teaching the car how to handle the removal of the module, giving them a massive strategic advantage when the regulations force them to change configurations later in the season. The struggles we saw on board with Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton were also part of this narrative. The car looked like a handful, snapping at the rear on corner entry and lacking rotation in the mid-corner. To the casual observer, this looks like a setup nightmare, but look at the fuel loads. While Mercedes was running low-fuel sprints to headline hunt and boost morale, Ferrari was running heavy, high-fuel stints to simulate race-pace tire degradation. A Ferrari car that looks unstable while loaded with 100 kg of fuel is a completely different animal than one running light in qualifying trim. They are prioritizing the Sunday car. They are focusing on the high track temperatures and the abrasive surface of the Red Bull Ring, knowing that if they can keep the tire degradation lower than Mercedes, they can extend their pit stop windows. In a race that is likely to be a 2 or 3 stopper, that extra 5 laps of tire life is worth more than a tenth of a second in qualifying. Now let's dig into the specific data points that reveal this deception. Look at the graph on your screen. This is a comparison between Hamilton and Antonelli's best lap in FP2. Notice the sector times. In Sector 1, Antonelli leads with a 328 kph trap speed, while Hamilton is a full 5 kph slower. But look at the rate of acceleration out of the corner. Hamilton's curve is flat, almost controlled, whereas Antonelli's is aggressive. This tells us that Hamilton is intentionally rolling out of the throttle. Then, move to Sector 2. The gap opens up to 14 kph. This is where the engine mapping is most restrictive. They are choosing to hide their performance where it's most visible to the rival's sensors. If they were truly slow, the deficit would be consistent across all sectors and cornering speeds. But it's not. It's localized to the straights, which is the hallmark of a team that has dialed back its power output. This brings us to the crucial question: can they turn it around? History says yes. In Barcelona, the gap in FP1 was half a second, and by FP3 it was down to 0.2. By the time Q3 arrived, it was a dead heat between the Ferrari and Mercedes drivers. This isn't just a coincidence. It's a systematic approach to the race weekend. Ferrari has moved away from the maximum attack Friday strategy. They have adopted a progressive unlocking strategy. They start with a baseline, identify the critical bottlenecks, like the balance issues we saw today, and then iterate the setup in the garage overnight. What we see on Friday is the lowest common denominator of their car's potential. Saturday is where they begin to turn the dials. There is, however, a secondary reason for this balance instability that many are missing. It isn't just about the FTM module. It's about the interaction between the high track temperatures and the suspension geometry they are testing. They are clearly experimenting with a more active suspension setup that relies on high-speed airflow to create the necessary downforce. When the car is moving slowly or is held in a high-fuel, low-power state, the system doesn't activate as intended, leading to that handful behavior we saw on camera. Once they switch to a high-power qualifying mode, the increased speed will trigger the aero loading they need to stabilize the car. It is a high-risk, high-reward strategy. If they get the window right, the car will be untouchable. If they miss the window by even a fraction of a degree in ride height, they could be staring at a disaster. But that is the nature of championship-level racing. Looking ahead to FP3 and qualifying, here is what I am watching for. First, look for the flick in engine deployment at the exit of Turn 1. If we see a sudden 10-15% increase in deployment, we know the sandbag is off. Second, watch the tire wear in the first 5 laps of FP3. If Ferrari's pace remains consistent while others start to see thermal degradation, it confirms that their high fuel testing today was successful. Third, watch for the removal of the FTM module. If they can maintain their balance without it, they have effectively solved their Spa and Silverstone problem in one weekend. I still expect Mercedes to be the favorite for pole position, simply because the W7 is a happier car in the hands of a driver like Antonelli. It's a point-and-shoot machine that requires less setup compromise. But Ferrari? Ferrari is building a race-winning machine. They aren't trying to win the headlines on Friday. They are trying to build the most efficient tool for a 71-lap battle. If I were a betting man, I wouldn't bet against a Ferrari recovery. They are currently sitting on a goldmine of latent performance, just waiting for the right moment to release it. They are playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. And if their history in Barcelona is any indicator, the rest of the grid is about to be in for a very rude awakening when the clocks reset for Q1. Ultimately, this weekend is about 3 factors: solving the handling imbalance, unleashing the full power of the AD01 engine, and maintaining that massive tire management advantage. If they tick these 3 boxes, the narrative of Ferrari struggling will evaporate by Saturday afternoon. We are witnessing the evolution of team strategy in the modern era of F1, where data is the currency and silence is a weapon. The true strength of this car is currently hidden behind layers of conservative programming and tactical testing, and it's only a matter of time before that veil is lifted. Keep your eyes on the telemetry, because when the full potential is unleashed, the gap to the front will shrink, and it will shrink fast. As we look toward the final practice session, the pressure is on the engineers in Maranello to refine the balance. The car is currently a diamond in the rough, lacking the polish that the Mercedes possesses. But the potential is there, hiding in the numbers, waiting to be extracted. I am a fan of this change in approach. It's mature, it's analytical, and it's the hallmark of a team that is serious about fighting for the championship until the very last race. Whether it pays off this weekend remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: never count out a team that is willing to be patient while their rivals chase the short-term glory of Friday timesheets. They are setting a trap, and it's up to the rest of the field to decide whether they fall for it or see through the bluff. I'll be here, covering every single data point throughout the weekend, so make sure you're subscribed to F1 Tech Unraveled. We have a massive weekend ahead of us, and I have a feeling the best is yet to come.